Senator Kamala Harris going after Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who's leading in a recent Iowa poll and breaking through in New Hampshire as well. Harris has been lagging behind in Iowa, practically moving there, but still coming in 8th in the crowded field. She's also taken him on over his suggestion that he, as a gay man, can relate to the struggles of African Americans, which he said in our debate.
Well, I do not have the experience of ever having been discriminated against because of the color of my skin. I do have the experience of sometimes feeling like a stranger in my own country.
It is important that we not compare struggles. We know that in our ongoing fight for civil rights, if any one of us starts to differentiate ourselves in a certain way, and in particular, what he did on the stage, it's just not productive, and I think it's a bit naive.
Joining me now, Senator, presidential candidate Kamala Harris. Great to see you. Very good to see you. Well, you have been, it's clear you're going after Pete Buttigieg. Let's establish why you think that he should be answering some of these criticisms.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm going after him, Andrea, but listen, for those of us who have been active in the civil rights community for a long time, it's just really well known that we don't compare struggles. It is, as I've said, it's not productive. It works against what has always been the strength of the civil rights movement, and that is the coalition building. That is the work that we do, recognizing the history, and the struggle that each has, not comparing them, but knowing that when we are unified around those things that we share in common, we are strong as a movement, and that no one should be made to fight alone. And that was the point I was making, which is that, you know, when you've been doing this work for a while, you know it's just not, one does not compare the struggle of one group who's fighting for civil rights against another group that is fighting for civil rights. So it's just a statement of fact, which is that it shouldn't be done. It's not in the best interest of the coalition. And it's not in the best interest of unifying folks who do, in spite of what may seem to be their differences, have so much more in common than what separates them.
It's also true that in that clip, and I apologize for the audio from that South Carolina event was not very clear, but you were joking about the size of South Bend, Indiana. You're suggesting that he does not have the experience, that you've been an attorney general, you've been, of course, a senator, statewide election in, you know, a very populous state.
No, actually, the point that I was making was that my health care plan covers everyone. By the Buttigieg-Biden plan, you know, by Biden's own admission, it doesn't cover 10 million people. And so to put in context the size of that population, it is, in fact, 10 times the size of Delaware and 100 times the size of South Bend. And that is just a fact. And so my statement is a statement that is really about what is, I think, important about what we need going forward in terms of a workable health care plan that covers everyone. And so my plan covers everyone, but also, as distinct from the Warren Sanders approach, I'm also not trying to get rid of private insurance. And in my plan, people have the choice. I'm not going to take the choice from them of a private plan or a public plan. So on one hand, you've got folks who are offering a plan that will not cover everyone and will not cover 10 million people. On the other hand, you've got folks who are offering a plan that takes away people's choice in terms of a private or a public plan. And so I believe my plan is the best plan that is being offered on the debate stage.
Well, I understand that you were defending your plan, but you were using as a comparison the size of South Bend, which was making another point entirely. But let me move on to ask you about the latest entrant into the race, Mike Bloomberg, dropping $31 million in ad spending. Now, just looking at what you have spent in Iowa so far as of November 26th. Tom Steyer had spent $7.8 million.
Yeah.
You're down at the bottom at $560,000. How do you compete against a guy who's dropping $31 million nationally, not just in Iowa, but nationally, on day one?
Yeah, no, you're bringing up a great point, Andrea, and it is really the tragedy of the American political system that money plays a very big role in politics. When elected, one of my first areas of high priority would be to overturn Citizens United and to take money out of this process. If our democracy is based on a free and fair election system that includes one person, one vote, well, it's a bit skewed if people who have millions and millions, and in some cases billions of dollars, and have the ability to influence how people think about who's available for their election process and what the ideas are. So it is very challenging to that point. It is very challenging. And I'm trying to raise the money to be able to compete. But, you know, it is, when you're looking at 30-something million or what other people are spending, it presents a great challenge for me. There's no question.
Our reporting is that one major reason that Mike Bloomberg finally got in was that he does not see the Biden campaign as being able to take on President Trump. He doesn't think that Biden has been a strong enough candidate, and he feels that Elizabeth Warren, in rising in the polls, is too liberal, too left, if you will. This is his perspective, not mine, but this is just what I am telling you from my reporting, to defeat Donald Trump, if you take that on, that rationale. What does it say about those campaigns and those candidacies that he did belatedly try to get in? Or decide to get in, rather?
Yeah, listen, I mean, we've had, I think, 25 candidates in this race, so that any more are jumping in is not, I guess, surprising. But, you know, each person is going to have to compete based on the merits of their plans, as well as based on their experience. And I do also believe that to win the nomination, the Democratic nomination, two things are essential. One, that the nominee has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump. And two, that the nominee has the ability to build the coalition. I referenced the Obama coalition, the coalition that is about young voters, voters of color, women, working people, independents. And that is going to be the winning ticket, if you will. And so everyone's going to have to plead their case about what is their strength in that regard. But I do believe ultimately those will be the two winning factors in terms of winning next November.
How do you compete against Joe Biden, who's doing so well with African-American voters? And the older African-American voters seem to be flocking to him, certainly in South Carolina. And according to the New York Times reporting today, they don't have data, it is anecdotal, younger black voters are not flocking to you or Senator Booker. That has to be frustrating for two African-Americans who've been in the struggle, who fought the fight, to be competing against white candidates and not attracting the black votes.
Well, everyone has to earn the vote of every person, and I have never and never would take for granted that because of my gender or my race that people will naturally come to me. You have to earn the support. And the reality is that when you look at least three of the top people on the ticket, they've been on the national stage for decades. They're well known. They are for that reason familiar. And the challenge that those of us who have not been on the national stage before, those of us who have not run for president before, is to make ourselves known. And that is why in the last couple of days I've been building a group of folks in South Carolina that we did what was historic, a whole agenda around black women voting and being engaged and empowerment. I'm here in Iowa today doing a similar approach. I've got 100 teachers who are coming out tomorrow to announce their endorsement of my candidacy, because a large part of my focus is on public education and the need to improve public education in America. So we have to earn the support. And again, the challenge for me is introducing myself to people who don't know me. And what I find and what we find is you can look at the polling numbers that tell us the majority of people are undecided. Even though the top three people are well known, they're not committed to them. So that's an opportunity as well as a challenge, but I see it as an opportunity.
I wanted to play a moment from the debate stage that was kind of stunning. It was Vice President Biden talking about his relationship with black support.
I have more people supporting me in the black community that have announced for me because they know me. They know who I am. 3 former chairs of the Black Caucus, the only African-American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate, a whole range of people.
No,
my point
that's not true. The other one is here.
I said the first.
So what was it like on stage? What were you thinking?
Well, I actually said what I was thinking. which is, you know, that's actually not true. The other one is on the stage. And, you know, listen, Andrea, you and I and many of us know that even when we're on the stage, we often have to point it out to people that we're on the stage.
Indeed, we do.
And that's just the reality of these things sometimes.
Well,
So
let me
there
just
you go.
share with our viewers, if anyone who did not see the takedown on SNL, Maya Rudolph was really a great Kamala Harris. Let's watch.
Tulsi, I'm going to be real with you, all right? You scare the hell out of me. You just gave me, oh my God, Gersberms.
I mean, they took on all the candidates, not just you, but it was quite a moment.
Yeah.
We can all be
She's
satirized.
phenomenal. She's phenomenal. She's phenomenal. Yeah, there you go. So there's a bit of comedy in the process of running for president. There's no question.
Given what you have to go through, you have to laugh when you can. But as you did.
You have to. You have to. You know, and also I have to tell you, Andrea, there's a lot of good out here, and I think that in the midst of this fight, and I do believe that we are in a fight. I believe we're in a fight for our democracy, for our system of justice, for the rule of law. And we have to win, and I've shared with you why I think and how I think we will win, which is by being able to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump and being able to build the coalition. And all of that being said, I will tell you, spending time in South Carolina, here in Iowa, around our country, there's so much good, and people are activated, and they are participating, and, you know, out of love of our country, people are willing to fight for the best of who we are. And from that, I derive a great deal of optimism and hope.
Well, thank you very much, and be safe
Thank
out there on
you.
the campaign trail. Hope to
Have
see
a
you
happy
again soon.
Thanksgiving. Thank you.
The
Take
same
care.
to you and your family. And
Thank you.
coming up.